In Uvalde, Texas, a big development in the investigation into the botched police response to the mass shooting there last week. Uvalde School District Police Chief Pete Arredondo, who has been criticized for reportedly ordering police not to enter the classroom where children were still alive with the shooter and calling 911 for help, was reportedly not even carrying a police radio as the massacre unfolded. That is according to State Senator Roland Gutierrez. NBC News has not independently verified this claim. Meanwhile, 3 more victims of this deadly shooting were buried today. Cousins Jayla Silguero and Jace Luevanos and their classmate Jacqueline Cazares. And as families and friends say their goodbyes, a legal fight may be growing. The father of a student killed in the shooting and a Robb Elementary School teacher have filed paperwork seeking details from Daniel Defense, the manufacturer of the assault-style rifle that the gunman used. Next week in Washington, D.C., the House Oversight Committee will hear from the parents of victims of the Uvalde and Buffalo shootings and a 4th-grade survivor from Uvalde. That follows the House Judiciary Committee's vote yesterday to advance a package of gun reform measures. Unsurprisingly, the vote broke down 25 to 19, with all committee Republicans voting against it. Then there's the Senate. Chris Murphy, the Connecticut Democratic senator tasked with finding a bipartisan solution on gun reform, gave a clear-eyed update on how it's going in an interview with the Washington Post today. Quote, a universal background checks bill still doesn't have 60 votes in the Senate. I wish that weren't true, but it is. So we're trying to find some common ground on an expansion of background checks or provisions to cut down on the abuse of our background check system. Senator Murphy also seemed pessimistic about the possibility of federal red flag laws, saying, quote, I think this is much better off done at the state level. And as lawmakers try to find a compromise, people are calling attention to gun violence itself. Buffalo's mayor marked National Gun Violence Awareness Day with a rally on the steps of City Hall, encouraging people to wear orange in solidarity with those impacted by gun violence. It's part of an anti-violence movement started by the friends and family of Hadia Pendleton, a Chicago high school student who marched in President Obama's 2nd inaugural parade and was shot and killed a week later. They chose the color orange because it's the color that warns hunters not to shoot. Joining us now is Manuel Oliver. His son Joaquin was one of the 17 victims tragically killed in the Parkland school shooting in 2019. He's the co-founder of Change the Ref, a gun safety organization, and is also taking part in the Wear Orange campaign. Mr. Oliver, thank you so much for taking time out to be here today. I do want to start by just asking you for your reaction to the latest news from Congress. You have House Republicans on the Judiciary Committee, all of them voting against a package of gun control bills after another school massacre. What is your message as the parent of a child killed in a school shooting to those Republicans in Congress?
Well, this is exactly the right moment and the right time to wake up as a nation, to be disrupted, to be very offended, and to understand that we should not rely on 10 votes from Republicans, and the whole nation should not be afraid because these guys are just against a better future for our kids. I think it's something that we have to reject immediately, and we need to demand for answers right now.
You mentioned this is the moment. And I do have to ask the question, do you believe, you've been campaigning on this for several years now since the tragedy in your own family, do you believe the American public is finally in a different space, that the American political system is finally going to respond to American public opinion?
I think that it's time for us to create that difference. We need to move away from a comfort zone that allows us to stay home and watch TV and just see how things move by themselves. That is not going to solve the problem. I've been fighting for this for the last 5 years, but guess what? I'm the one that lost the son. A lot of viewers right now, they have their happy family, and they still think that they can wait for an answer from our politicians. Waiting till November cannot be an answer. That will cost us at least 25,000 more victims. So we should think about people over guns, and we should start now, at this moment, after this interview.
Manuel, just hearing you speak, we are all so sorry for your loss and what you've had to go through and the campaign that you've had to mount after the killing of your son, something you shouldn't have had to have mounted. I have to ask, last night we discussed Joe Biden's speech on the show. We talked about how he put the onus on Congress because that's where the bills have to pass. But activists say he could do more with executive orders. What would you like to see the president saying or doing in the coming days?
We suggested the president to open an office inside the White House with a team that just dedicated to prevent gun violence, to keep the conversation out there every single day, 24/7. You know, there's a lot of organizations doing that, and we're not in the White House. Our voice is not as loud as the voice of the leader of a nation that lets everybody know that we are the most powerful country in the world. Well, apparently we're not. We cannot solve these problems. We are relying on 10 people. More than 300 million Americans relay their lives in 10 people that decided to vote against a safer nation. That is unacceptable, again. And the president should open this office right now. There is no voting that he needs for that. It's the immediate reaction. He should be working today with these members of Congress and Senate in the same round table.
Yeah. I do hope he's listening. Manuel Oliver, co-founder of Change the Ref. We'll have to leave it there. Thank you for joining us tonight. And again, we are also sorry for your loss.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure being here.